we are gonna watch the end of WarCraft. It's from Platinum WoW. I have no idea what it is about, but I think it's about the game dying or something like that, or the world dying or whatever. So, for the ones who don't know, which is everyone, I've played World of Warcraft for about 20 years. Starting in vanilla until, I don't know, I got bored. I actually played the War Within. Oh god, that thing was, wow, that was not good. Not good. It was not fun. But that goes with basically all the expansions after Draenor. That thing was kind of fun. Then it got worse and worse and worse with everything. I hated it. So let's see what this video is about.
13 years ago, one of the most brutal events in WarCraft took place. During the peak of the faction conflict between the Horde and the Alliance in Pandaria, Garrosh Hellscream made sure to sow hatred between the two factions in the neutral city of Dalaran. Tensions were already high between the sub-factions in the city. The Silver Covenant and the Sun Reavers represented the Alliance and the Horde, but High Elves and Blood Elves weren't always opposed to each other. Because before the Burning Crusade, the High Elves left the elven city of Quotha because their prince, who was a bad guy, was teaching the citizens how to suck magic from living things to satiate their addiction. But if they didn't satiate their addiction, they wouldn't die. They were just addicts, and the High Elves thought that was messed up, so they left. But physically, there's no difference between Blood Elves and High Elves other than their eyes, and also they have cultural differences. But ignore everything I just said, because Varisa and other High Elves left Quotha for totally different reasons after the Second War, because Quotha dropped out of the Alliance, but Varisa and the other High Elves wanted to stay in the Alliance because we need High Elf units for humans in Warcraft 3. Okay, so, the Sunwell.
And they're hot. They're hot. Wait, do we have double music? My music and...
Quotha had this thing called the Sunwell, but that was destroyed during the invasion of Quotha. But it was different from the Sunwell that was reinvigorated at the end of the Burning Crusade. No. This version of the Sunwell actually had different magic, and it actually came from a different well called the Well of Eternity. But that well doesn't exist anymore because of an event that happened 10,000 years ago during the War of the Ancients, which is also a book series, and the first 2 books of the series came out before World of Warcraft even released. But this book series, it's super important because it lays out the events leading to the world-altering event called the Sundering, and oh my...
Yeah, no one ever read these aside of hardcore fans. Talking too fast, 99? Yes, exactly.
God, I'm talking about the Sundering again.
Yes,
you know what? No, I'm done with this Warcraft lore bullshit. Instead of telling you about the Sundering, I'm just gonna play every single time I've talked about the Sundering on this channel at once, because I just can't be bothered anymore.
Nice. Okay. Oh no. Wait, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 videos? Oh Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
In the Mists of Pandaria, a quest line called the Purging of Dalaran took place. An event where the Sun Reavers were...
I don't remember that. But I might also just not have played the story far enough or something like that. I don't remember. That's over a decade ago. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I'm so old.
Slaughtered or exiled from the city by the Silver Covenant. And it wasn't until midnight, 13 years later, that this storyline was revisited and met its conclusion. But for this questline to make...
But I guess the conclusion is gay. Because Modern Blizzard is gay.
Any sense or have any emotional impact on the player, they need the required context to know all of this in a questline from 13 years ago. I really want to stress that. 13 years ago. Yeah. I was 13 years ago. I was in...
13 years ago. I was 29-ish.
Middle school, we were all doing the Harlem Shake. During this questline, the Silver Covenant is allowed back into the city to help defeat the Void Invasion. Afterwards, they make a compromise and combine the Silver Covenant and the Sun Reavers into one singular faction called the Silver Sun Compact.
Varisa and I have decided that our people...
Compact? Really? Why would you choose a name like that? That even sounds stupid.
Can no longer afford to fight each other.
I agree to this compact, though I will never forgive the Horde for what it has done.
As I will never forgive the Alliance for purging us from Dalaran. Yet, I too agree to this compact. We cannot greet the future without saying farewell to the past.
But why? Why is Blizzard taking the narrative in this direction?
Because they're gay. And women. So many women. Oh, don't tell me they want them to do it. Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. It's Blizzard after all.
What is this? World of Friendship craft? No! To understand why the narrative is being taken in this direction, we need to talk about the massive obstacle that is in the way of WarCraft telling good stories. For a majority...
The writers. That's what I would say. It's the writers.
Of World of Warcraft's history, its lore has been unfocused. Each expansion has been wildly different in subject matter, with only the faintest connections between each bombastic, disconnected continuation of its story. But
yes, but the disconnection stuff only happened after Wrath of the Lich King. Because that's when the main storyline from Warcraft ended. Then they were free of their shackles, and then everything kind of turned to shit.
with this scattershot approach comes a wide breadth of lore that is required to understand when topics are reintroduced with an expansion's worth of lore that separate the start and end of a character's story. The only realistic way for a new or casual player to understand the story is either read a collection of 4 history books explaining the entire universe,
oh god, no,
read the wiki, or go watch a video explaining the lore on YouTube. This disjoint...
But that no one does that because no new players go into World of Warcraft. Because the game is just not that good. Especially not for new players. New players are completely lost in World of Warcraft. Unless they are playing vanilla. No, not vanilla. How is it called? Classic. Classic WoW, yeah, works fine. Because you have way less story. Way less.
approach in World of Warcraft can also be seen in the game's design. Features for expansions were built, iterated, and ultimately scrapped over and over again. Garrisons, artifact weapons, warfronts, the Heart of Azeroth, and covenants all met their inevitable end once the next expansion was released.
And that sucks cock. It's just bad.
It wasn't until Dragonflight when we saw a philosophical shift in the game's design. Instead of a flashy new feature built for one expansion and one expansion only, there was an investment in the core fundamentals of World of Warcraft's design. Since then, we've seen features like dynamic flying, talent trees, professions, auction house revamp, cross-faction gameplay, warbands, delves, UI changes, and most impactful of all, housing. A massive core...
Which they planned to have in the game when it released in 2004. Greetings back to Norway. What are we watching? The end of Warcraft. Whatever that means.
A pillar of gameplay being introduced in Midnight. World of Warcraft is currently being made with the goal of setting the MMO up for success for the next 20 years. And the same thing is happening.
20 years? Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that. It's ending? Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, no. But The player numbers are slowly dwindling for retail. For, I think, Classic, they're stable, at least more stable. You still play Hearthstone? Oh, Jesus. I haven't touched that in even more than a decade.
Into the game's lore, which is desperately trying to recover from the sins of its past. Because from 2014 to 2020, the A-plot of World of Warcraft has kind of been a hot mess.
Yes.
And the peaks and valleys of the game's lore is directly correlated to the juggling of creative directors World of Warcraft has been fumbling through. The creative director for World of Warcraft from 2004 to 2016 was Chris Metzen, the artistic mind that founded Warcraft.
And he did a very good job.
He would step down from his leadership role in 2016 after being burnt out having to manage World of Warcraft, the Warcraft movie, and the failed Project Titan. The last thing Chris was involved in...
By the way, the Warcraft movie was a mess. They should have never gone with an live action movie where 90% of everything you see is CGI. If they had gone for being just an animated movie, like their cutscenes, their cinematics, that would have been better, way better, massively better. You know all the WoW lore? Oh my god, you poor thing. Still waiting for World of Warcraft 2? Yeah, that will never happen.
Was the Legion expansion in the cinematic for Battle for Azeroth. Creative director Alex Afasarabi took Chris's place of a leadership role in 2016. Afasarabi was allegedly known to be very proud of treating every WoW expansion like it was the last WoW expansion, which is great, until you have to make the next WoW expansion. Further,
which is a problem. You're more into Warhammer lore? Yeah, I can see that. Curse of knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. Fan animation tricked me into it. Oh, that's not good. I really loved World of Warcraft back in the day, which is fueled by my love for Warcraft 3. Yes, Warcraft 3. I love that game. I have the original Warcraft 3 and Frozen Throne packs here somewhere. I can literally install that and just run them. Oh wait, not on this PC anymore. Great. I would have to get a DVD or Blu-ray drive for USB to work with that. Oh my god, yeah. Oh boy. But it would work. It would work. And man, I loved Warcraft 3 so much. I remember the first time I played through it, I did it on hard. On hard. And that game actually was hard. You seen the Astartes fan animation? I don't know. You recommend to watch them? Sure. I've seen quite some stuff from Warhammer, but I'm not really into Warhammer. I mean, it's cool and all, but man, it's kind of so depressing that I don't want to get into it too deep. One guy spent 7 years making it alone. Oh, Jesus. It was so good they hired him. Ooh, good for him. That's awesome. That's actually awesome. Everything sucks in the Warhammer universe. Yes, exactly. And that's my problem. That's my problem.
Furthermore, he was allegedly the leading voice in pushing the Burning of Teldrassil event in the Battle for Azeroth, much to the distaste of the rest of the narrative team. Despite his push for this story beat, he had no idea what the conclusion of the Burning of Teldrassil, or Sylvanas' story, would be.
And that's the problem. He didn't think it through. Just like they did with the modern Star Wars trilogy. They didn't think it through. And that's why it's a mess. And so this is a mess. They literally made Sylvanas from an okay, like character into no one likes that bitch. Fuck this.
Later be quietly fired from Blizzard June of 2020 for sexual misconduct.
Of
Steve
course.
Denuser, a fellow narrative designer, needs to find a way to continue this story he just inherited. Shadowlands comes out and its lore is heavily criticized by the player base. November 28th, 2022, the Dragonflight expansion comes out and its story's a good refresher, but still has some issues.
Dragonflight sucked. It absolutely sucked. New Star Wars pisses you off? Yeah, most people are pissed off by it. They're making a sequel animated show based on its animation. I guess you are referring to the Warhammer guy. Darth Maul show was okay. Yeah, might be. I haven't watched anything new Star Wars in ages, and I have no intent. The newest Star Wars thing that I have watched lately was Rogue One. I watched it again. I did. Oh yeah, let's watch Star Wars. Let's watch the Star Wars movies again, and that was one of them. And then I watched episode 4, and man, the additional CGI is so bad, especially if the CGI is in the foreground, blocking the view of the actors. That's so dumb. They make good Star Wars animated series. Yeah, I don't want to see anything of that. Undershow was really good. Yeah, might be, but I don't care. I don't care about all that shit. It's all the same Disney crap. I don't want to see that, and I definitely don't want to spend money on it. It was Star Wars, but not Star Wars. Yes, exactly, and that's the problem. Back to this. Dragonflight sucked. I skipped Shadowlands, the expansion before that, and I wanted to level in Dragonflight. I couldn't. My item level was so low that I couldn't. Even though my level was fine, but my item level wasn't. So I just didn't deal any damage to the enemies. So how did I made it through it? By collecting rocks and picking plants for experience. A skill issue? Yes. Well, it's not a skill issue if you have just being cockblocked by the itemization of the game. I literally would have to need to play through Shadowlands, which I could have, and I started that with one character, and I just stopped. I think I didn't even level once, and I just stopped because it was so bad. I hated every moment in the Shadowlands. That's how bad this was. I wanted to jump from a bridge because of that. Man, that was so bad. You're playing Black Flag's Resync at the moment, having a good time. Well, it's a remake of a good game, so yeah. As long as it's not something new from Ubisoft, it's good, yes.
December 15th, 2022. Chris Metzen comes back as a creative advisor for World of Warcraft. When Chris rejoined, the team was already 10 months into the development of The War Within. During his...
That thing also kind of sucked. The problem is, and Chris Metzen said that it's done like that, every design decision is made by committee. Everyone has to agree with it. Well, the majority has to. Pirate genre. Yes.
time as an advisor, he takes a look at the story plans of WoW for the next 2 expansions. He doesn't like what he sees.
Of course not.
In an interview with Bobby Kotick, former CEO of Activision Blizzard, he tells a story of when Chris Metzen returned to Blizzard and took a look at the planned story for World of Warcraft.
He calls me, he had seen like the 2 expansion plans, and he called me, he's like, they're not good, man. They need to be redone. And I'm like, just come do it. Like, you're the guy, come do it.
September 26th, 2022.
Imagine that. Imagine the stories being so bad that he goes, yeah, no, they are bad. Think of the shareholders, yes. Yeah, no, the thing is, if the story for the expansion is so bad that people will go like, yeah, this is trash. Then why would they play it? Why would they play it? The only good things that got into the game in the past years was housing. And I think that's it. Maybe some cosmetics or whatever, I don't know. I don't know.
Chris Metzen fully rejoins Blizzard as the executive creative director. Then in the fall of 2023, Steve Denuser quietly leaves Blizzard, stating that it was because of the work-from-home policy at Blizzard being restricted and that he's looking for a change. BlizzCon 2023. Chris Metzen announces the World Soul Saga, a trilogy of expansions with a cohesive story that will not only close this chapter of the past 20 years of Warcraft's story, but set the universe up for the next 20 years.
A storyline that in almost every way feels like the culmination of the first 20 years of our storytelling. A storyline provided we do our jobs, we do the thing that will vector us into the next 20 years.
The problem is, that's done with the people that work at Blizzard right now, and the people that working at Blizzard right now, they can't make good shit. They just can't. They're too incompetent or lazy, or they don't want to. It's literally that simple. And you see that with everything that's coming out from World of Warcraft. It's just trash. It's just not good. I mean, they're literally just rehashing what they had. And it's boring. It's literally boring. I would love me, though, a single-player game that is World of Warcraft, like vanilla. I would love that. I would love that. Doesn't have to be World of Warcraft, just something similar. Would love that. You wonder how many of the OG guys still work on WoW? Almost none. I mean, he is, but after he left and came back. But basically everyone is gone. As far as I know, none of the OGs works at Blizzard anymore. None. Because Blizzard today is not the Blizzard that we know from Warcraft 3 and stuff like that. They're all gone. They're all gone. That's why the quality of the games is so low. That's the problem.
Adventure.
But how is that possible? How can the World Soul Saga vector Warcraft into the next 20 years of adventure, and how is this trilogy different from every other expansion? The aftermath of whatever is waiting for us at the end of the World Soul Saga is what I believe to be a soft reboot for the universe. But before they do that,
it's either a soft reboot or a massive change. A massive change.
Blizzard needs to wind up a haymaker punch of story decisions that is going to take years to make contact. And really, since Dragonflight, they've been concluding storylines and setting them up with an established baseline to cleanly introduce future lore that isn't mired in ancient context from past expansions. There's the reclamation of Gilneas, the retirement of Gen Greymane, and his daughter Tess becoming the new leader, the World Tree of Belemeth, Tyrande and Malfurion retiring, and Chandris being the new leader, Kalecgos reuniting the Blue Dragonflight, Magni not being Azeroth's speaker anymore, killing off Gallywix and establishing the Undermine Council. The Kirin...
Of course. Of course, they get rid of the King of the Goblins and they establish a... Oh, man, this is so... Oh, there can't be one ruler anywhere. Everything has to be a council of many people. Oh, yeah, that's so retarded. I hate this. You feel like the guys that made the old WoW had passion and the new ones are just there for a paycheck? Because they are. The new guys are only there for a paycheck and to make their politics a thing. That's why this guy is dead and the goblins now have a council. It's very, very simple.
off Gallywix and establishing the Undermine Council. The Kirin Tor becoming a decentralized faction, finally establishing a connection between brokers.
Really? They're literally ruining everything. And that is the goal, destroying the established culture of the game with something different. And the different is bad.
And ethereals, addressing the true nature of the Shadowlands, uncovering the Titan conspiracy and their plans for Azeroth, introducing new characters like Dagran.
I hate this dwarf. He's such a dumb cunt. He's so annoying. Whenever this guy was talking, when I played the War with him, I wanted to punch him. He's that annoying. I also don't like this guy. He's also a cunt. You kinda like the Hobbit movies? That's fine. The Hobbit movies are okay. They aren't good, but they are okay. Better than this shit.
And an Eretor, establishing new threats like the Arathi Empire. And probably the most important storyline is the reunification of elves and the creation of the Dawnwell. Because the lore surrounding the elves in Quel'Thalas is the longest run-on sentence of lore in the universe that needed to return back to a status quo so future stories can be told which don't rely on the context of decades of fragmented lore. All a new player needs to understand now is that in the northern eastern kingdoms, there's a place called Quel'Thalas. It's filled with magical elves. There are a couple different types of them with different cultures, and that's it. You don't need to know what happened in the Burning Crusade, or the Mists of Pandaria, or the Battle for Azeroth. This is a fresh slate that stories can be built upon. And that isn't to say this is an erasure of Warcraft's story. This is an attempt.
Oh, I disagree. They kind of want to erase that and make it more simple for the simpletons. That's exactly what they are doing.
To finally put some punctuation at the end of these run-on sentences. And if Warcraft is going to have a well-told story, it needs to build a foundation for these new stories to be told.
We cannot greet the future without saying farewell to the past.
Sure.
Now, what I'm not saying is that the story of the reunification of the elves and the cinematics that come with it are some master art of storytelling.
Of course they aren't. They are made by the modern team.
Because it's really not. What I'm saying is that from a holistic point of view, this shows that WoW's writers have diagnosed one of the major pain points for this legacy universe and are taking steps to...
Just look at how soft everything looks. This is horrible. The Rings of Power were horrible, of course. Oh shit, phone. Great, missed that call. I'm busy. You enjoyed the show? What? How can you? Ew. No. That show, I didn't watch it. I only watched clips on the internet, you know. And yeah, no, fuck that show.
Rectify it, and that there's a clear long-term investment for the franchise, which can currently be seen in every facet of the game's design, from gameplay to story. In 2008, World of Warcraft Comic Volume 1 was released. This collection of
Wait, 2008? Really? Not before? Man, that's something. What shows are your top 3 and top 3 movies? Oh, shows. Star Trek DS9. And then I don't know. I think Star Trek The Next Generation. And then maybe the Cosby Show. And yes, that's a wild gap from science fiction to the Cosby Show. And when it comes to movies, I don't know. Definitely the Lord of the Rings movies. seeing as one. Alien and Aliens. Yeah, something like that. I don't go with, oh yeah, these are my absolute favorite things, because that changes depending on my mood or just my age. Things like that. You never knew they had comics before. That's a book, not a comic. But I think they also had comics. I'm not sure. You seen Chernobyl? It's my favorite show. No, I've only seen snippets on YouTube.
Warcraft Comics included a foreword from Chris Metzen talking about how his love for comics heavily influenced the Warcraft universe. While Warcraft is a high-octane swords and sorcery setting, I don't think it's any secret that its unique flavor is steeped heavily in comics lore. It's absolutely saturated by the colorful themes and motifs that continually play out in the complex yet glorious universes inhabited by our favorite spandex-clad heroes. I know. You might be wondering what magical broadswords and demon-forged fell reavers have to do with secret identities and skin-tight costumes.
Damn.
A few examples pop into mind. Chris goes on to talk about how Captain America was the inspiration for the vibe of Warcraft Paladins. Alex Ross's mythical renderings of Superman in Kingdom Come and Justice influenced the Draenei's heroic poses and animation sets. The dreaming from Sandman and the green from the Swamp Thing helped shape the lore of the Emerald Dream. But the most impactful comic book inspiration for Warcraft was The Mighty Thor by Walt Simonson and Saul Buscema. He goes on to mention that the Burning Legion and Sargeras are just riffs off the demon Surtur and Muspelheim, and Thrall's Doomhammer is just heavily inspired by Mjolnir. The very foundation of Warcraft's lore is soaked in inspiration from comics, but the similarities between the two go even farther than that. Legacy comics develop into incredibly long-running mediums of storytelling. For these stories to be sustainable, they practically require resets for its story, or it will be suffocated in information that make them impossible to get into. For DC Universe, they implement entire resets to their universe frequently. For Marvel, they section off their long-running narrative in story arcs created by specific writers. When a new arc starts, it's typically a great opportunity for new readers to pick up the series.
But basically no one does anymore, because it's written by Westerners. And I'm not even shitting on them. It's just, well, I am shitting on them. They are being outsold by one manga. The entire Western comic book industry is being outsold by one manga from Japan. No one reads this shit. No one. I mean, the old stuff, yes. The old stuff is beloved. But the new stuff, no one cares. No one.
Right there is what WoW is working towards. Wrapping up this disconnected story that has been told for 20 years and establish a new era. A new era unburdened by a suffocating amount of context so that good stories can be told. And in order to make this goal a reality, the World Soul Saga has awkward, ugly moments where it's trying to wrap up the remnants of legacy lore to set the universe up for success in the long term. And it's not perfect in the slightest, but it shows that Blizzard has diagnosed these major pain points with Warcraft's story and are taking major swings to help rectify them.
My hope, our dear hope, is that you can see when it comes to WoW storytelling, we ain't screwing around. We are playing for all the marbles. We are working to establish a thundering heartbeat for this franchise.
But Metzen, what about the sword and Silphus?
Yeah, the sword and Silphus, that giant thing that's sticking there. What about that? And yes, we can take a watch at the Astartes after this.
Please! We're halfway through the saga. It hasn't been talked about at all. Anything?
What was that? Doesn't matter.
8K strategy, quality strategy. Oh, I'm strategy. This was a good video. And I rumbled a lot because, man, I used to love World of Warcraft and the Warcraft universe. I loved that so much. I was completely addicted to the game. Completely addicted. And that kind of ruined my life. I still remember that one time I played for 24 hours. Only to end up not getting the weapon that I wanted. But getting hemorrhoids because I was sitting for 24 hours on my fat ass. When you played WoW Hardcore? No, I never... I played WoW Hardcore, but that was nothing. No, when I was addicted to WoW. When I played the game hardcore, like 8 hours per day. Yes, hemorrhoids. Yes. Not nice. It was not nice. Oh my god. It was bad. It was really bad. And with that, we are at the... What year? I don't know. That was vanilla WoW. It's long ago. Oh, it's 20... Let's say 20 years ago. 20 years. And now, with that picture in your mind, we are at the end of this video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.